Yes, guys, this is my beginner's guide to appointment setting. So, appointment setting is just the process of turning a business's audience into qualified sales calls. So, yeah, let's get straight into it. There's two types of setting. So, you've got phone setting. Here you see this is me in the Matrix cold calling. But yeah, so with phone setting, it's super high pace and high volume. So, you're going to be doing loads in the day. Um, it's a lot rougher than DMs in the sense that you're going to be getting a lot of rejection. You're going to be told you're not interested loads, and there's a bit more pressure and less freedom in that sense because you're going to be waiting on the phone, waiting for people to call back, stuff like that. But there's really high earning potential because since you're doing so much volume, if you're actually good at it, you can book in so many calls. It's also quite beneficial because if you can get really good at dialing, it'll help you in the future to triage call, and then when you transition to closing as well, it can be really helpful. So yeah, that's phone setting. And then you've also got a DM setting where you're booking people in through messages rather than being on the phone. So I prefer this, to be honest. You can have multiple conversations at once. It's slower pace, so it's more chilled. You can think about your responses a little bit more. And you have a lot more freedom as well. For example, you can be in the gym and you can be sending messages between sets and stuff like that. And yeah, the lifestyle around DM setting is just pretty comfy, to be honest. Also, one of the main benefits is you can stack clients. So when you're calling people, you can't really be like chatting to a different audiences. Whereas with DM setting, you can stack multiple Instagram accounts, for example. But I'll get into that. So this is just a basic overview of appointment setting. So this is the structure that every conversation is going to follow, basically. So the conversation gets started. You're going to have inbound messages. So obviously that's where someone's messaging you, and these are a lot nicer because it shows that they're already interested, and the conversation is just normally a bit easier. And then you have outbound messages, and that's when you start the conversation. So you can have cold outbound, that's when you're basically messaging randoms, or you can have warm outbound, which is where someone might have liked a few of your posts, someone might have just followed you. So it's a lot warmer and it's a lot easier to deal with, really. And then you're going to start the conversation by building rapport. So that's obviously just breaking the ice, getting that person comfortable with you. And then you're going to find out a bit more about their current situation by asking qualifying questions. Things like where they're based, what they're doing for work, and that's just going to enable you to financially qualify people. Because if someone says they're from a third world country and we're going to be working with high ticket, they're probably not going to be able to afford these programs. So we need to basically cut people out pretty quickly who are wasting our time. And then we need to get pain points. So we need to find out what people are really struggling with, what's missing, and if they actually even need help. The same way that you wouldn't just walk into a doctor's and get prescribed random medicine, it's the same with sales. You need to figure out if they genuinely need help and what they actually need. Also, with this pain, no one's going to spend a lot of money on a program if they're not in pain. That's just how it goes. So we need to basically extract that pain out of them. And then once we've got the pain, we can just clarify their goals. So this is just going to be where they want to get to and what they actually want out of whatever you're selling to them. So yeah, it's pretty simple after that. Once you've got their pain and then where they want to be, you just bridge the gap. So you just present yourself as a solution. So you then book them onto a call. So you're only going to want to book them onto the call if they're genuinely qualified and if their problem is real. Because once you connect them to the closer, and they get on a closing call, if you just book someone in for the sake of it and they're not that interested or they've not got the money to purchase whatever you're selling, then it's just going to be a waste of time and you're not going to get any commission and you're not going to make any money. So it's pretty obvious. The more qualified someone is, the more money you're going to make because the more sales are going to take place. So what DM setting actually looks like. So I'm going to talk through the actual process because it will help you guys understand it. So, oh, and also this is a bit about my experience as well and what I've been doing and the main ways I've made money have actually been through Instagram. So I'll just take you through this now. So let's just take a high ticket product. So like a fitness program, like 3.5k to 5k. So these are two clients that I've been working with in the past. So as you can see, like AJ here has got over 800k followers, Ibrahim's got over 80k, they're quite big accounts. And I'd basically jump on their Instagram accounts and run all of the DMs for them. So their job's just marketing, right? They just need to get as many followers as possible, post as much as they can. And they've got lots of followers and lots of attention. And so their goal is pretty much to build trust with these guys. They want to build that loyalty basically within their fan base. But as you guys know, this is all good having 800,000 followers and having like loads of views, but without sales, it doesn't mean anything. So they're not going to be making money, right? So this is where they kind of have to figure out who's actually interested. So AJ, for example, has got 800,000 followers. He needs to figure out who actually is interested out of that awareness bracket, if that makes sense. So one example of what they can do is story polls. So you guys are probably pressed on polls in your time, thought nothing of it, but as we can see here, we get all the analytics behind the scenes. So this is on Ibrahim's account, but as you can see, he's got 90k followers or 86k followers, whatever. He's gonna then on a poll, let's say 400 people have then tapped on that poll. We now know these people are interested in what he has to do, or they're interested in their fitness journey in general. So that's now 400 people that we can message. So basically, that's where our job comes in as the appointment setter. So we're just going through the setting process, which I kind of mentioned before. We're going through that conversation structure, and we're just bridging the gap between these interested people and the closer. So if you've had a good conversation with someone, they're genuinely qualified and they're genuinely interested in what you're selling, then you're going to book them in for a call. As you can see here, you basically send them a calendar, they'll book into the call. And then the closer, that's basically your job done at that point, by the way. Then the closer will then see this, just a list of loads of calls being booked in. They then jump on the calls with these qualified leads, and they basically have like a FaceTime, like a Zoom, and then they collect the cash. So the more you can kind of qualify them, the easier it's going to be for the closer to close, and you're making their job easier because they'll get less objections if the person's genuinely interested, they've got the money, they actually want to do it, right? So yeah, once they've collected the cash, as you see, it's high ticket, so it's going to be like 2-3k plus. The client then pays for the service. Yeah, that's all the job done. That's the full process. So how do you actually get paid? So you can get paid in commission where you earn a percentage. The industry standard right now for setting is between like 5 and 10%. Or you can earn a flat fee. We've got a few guys in the community right now who are on rolls where they get £100 per booking, which is pretty sick because no matter if it closes, they're getting that £100. So that's a bit of a cheat code. But yeah, it's pretty obvious. The better your results, as it's commission based, the more money you're going to make, right? And then with setting, you can also get a base pay. This normally happens when you have that loyalty with the person you're working with. They actually rate you, they trust you, and you're actually being consistent. And then you can get a base pay of like, I don't know, £500 to a K, and then get commission on top of that, which is pretty nice. And then you get bonuses as well. Think about it. If these guys are selling plans of 4K and you're doing 10 of them a month, they're going to have a lot of money basically left over. So if you're doing well, they'll be generous and give you bonuses as well. That's one thing I've noticed in this space because there's just so much money in it. So if you just want to do a quick calculation, if you book 40 calls in a month and only a quarter of those calls close, so only 10 go through, so that's 30 people who might not be interested, might not be qualified properly. So only 10 people close at £300, then you've done your 3k month. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in my old 9 to 5 job, I'd be gassed with 3k a month from my phone. So yeah, that's just a quick calculation. And then also, I wanted to mention what's really sick about DMs is you can stack multiple roles. So let's say you've got a 3k a month role, and then you stack two of them. Then yeah, that's when you really get into 5-6k a month from your phone. So that's really the main goal. You can get to 10k a month setting, but yeah, it's a bit rarer. Not as many people are going to be doing that, to be honest. So why businesses actually hire setters? So they have a huge following, right? But they have zero time. They're spending their days marketing, they're creating stories, they're making reels, and they need to make sure their clients are actually getting the results, which takes up so much time. Imagine creating fitness plans and you've got 50 people in your group and tailoring everything. They just don't have time to go through the DMs. Also, if they're not actively messaging people all day, then the lead's just going to go cold. If someone messages them saying, hi, I'm interested in what you do, and you don't reply to them for 3 days, they're going to be like, why would I want to work with this guy? I'm just going to go to someone else. So they'll lose thousands of pounds by not answering messages, and it's a full-time job, and it's really, really important to do it. In fact, it's probably the most important role in the business, because if you don't have appointment setters, then you're not going to be making any money. For them, all they have to do is pay a bit of commission, and yeah, it works perfectly. Also, the reason setters are so important for businesses is without setters, you're not going to have consistency, and you need consistent income. You're not going to get an influencer who's going to pump 10k into ads, for example, if they've not got a consistent income. So it's just not going to work unless they've got setters who are reliable and they can actually trust to bring in the money. So this is for a competent appointment setter who's genuinely good and genuinely money. So You need to have the right mindset. You're going to be getting a lot of rejection and you're going to have awkward conversations, of course, especially if you're on the phone. You're going to be getting told you're not interested. You might be getting shouted at. And then in the DMs, you might be having some awkward conversations. People don't really like just getting messaged, for example. But if you can understand it's just a numbers game and you are really trying to help these people out, then yeah, it's easy. It just turns into a game. And you have to be consistent as well because in this game, it's a numbers game. But on top of that, you're going to be following up with people and you need to have that consistency because if you do 100 DMs in one day, then the next day you do one, obviously you're not going to do very well, are you? And yeah, you need to be hungry because obviously in a 9 to 5, you've got a consistent income. But with sales, it's one of those things where I've done £1,000 in a day, but then there's also been a 3 4 day period I've made no money. So in those droughts, you need to really want that money and be hungry for it. Otherwise, you're actually just gonna you're gonna be fucked really. On top of that, you need to have the knowledge because if you go into these conversations not knowing really how to go about it, not knowing when to message people, how to message people, you're going to trigger resistance quite quickly and they'll realize that you're just trying to sell to them and you're going to get no bookings and you're going to make no money. So you need to understand all of these points and there's a lot more to it and I could explain in a lot more depth, but I'll go over that in another video. But yeah, if you don't have this base knowledge when you're going into the DMs, you're going to struggle to book. And then in terms of tools, you've got CRMs, KPI trackers, and different platforms you need to be using. If you're not like tracking your DMs and tracking your output, then yeah, you're not going to do very well either. Network, yeah, so landing a good role without the connections is tricky, I'll be honest. And I learned that the hard way at the start when I was trying to do it by myself. So there's thousands of people applying to be appointment setters because everyone's going crazy about it right now, but most people, most big accounts, they hire internally. They want people they know they can trust. They don't want people who are just messing around. So a lot of new setters basically will get ignored if they don't know someone because someone just don't want a random guy in the DMs who might have never done it before. So there's a lot of ways around this. Networking is extremely important, but there's also strategies that you can have to get roles as well. Another thing is when you're actually in the DMs messaging people, you need feedback on what you're doing because you can't just read off a script. You're going to sound like a robot. People are just going to ask if this is ChatGPT. It's not going to make any sense. So you need to be actively improving and training. So you do need that guidance in that sense as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything you need to be a competent appointment setter. But in terms of if you wanted to know what you need to get started, it's literally a little bit of free time and your phone. That's pretty much all you need. So when I first got into this space, it kind of looked easy to me. I just thought it was sending DMs. There's actually so many different things that go into becoming a skilled appointment setter because at the end of the day, it is just a skill set. And the higher your skill set, the more money you're going to make. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, there's going to be way more videos like this going into more detail. Subscribe to the channel and yeah, thanks for watching.